Okay, hello YouTube, and welcome once again. My name is Marvin Smith, and I am your tech strategy advisor. Welcome to my channel. I am a tech strategy advisor, fractional CIO. I help founders, business owners, and CEOs make better technology decision means you scale faster, you scale more reliable, and it cuts down on um, over expensive cost. Now, the reason for this video is it is 2026, and in my honest opinion, the job market is horrible. Again, being somebody who's currently in the job market, you you come across here's a scenario. You come across a position, you fill out the online application that feels like you're filling out paper application. And yeah, I know it's 2020, doesn't work for me. So you come across a position you like, you fill out the application, you submit yourself, you hopefully get past ATS because your resume has all the proper keywords that the ATS likes. Then you go into, I'm assuming, some kind of pool. Now, the hiring manager probably gets an alert, new candidate. I'm assuming what the back end system looks like because there's so many ATS systems out there. So the hiring manager gets an alert, probably something that says new candidate. They look at your resume. Again, depending on how he or she is feeling, they might say, okay, let's set up, you know, uh, a meeting on your calendar for first interview. Okay, kudos, you got that first interview. Now, that first interview, you're asked, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like these questions are made up, but you're asked questions. So you do your best to answer the question, and then again, if the person who's interviewing you likes what they hear, they'll set up another interview. So again, back and forth of when you're available, you set up the time on your calendar, and second round of interviews, you're I guess you're asked more focused questions to see how your ability to kind of think on your feet, whatever. Now, second interview passes. What happens if you don't get the job? Then that time was wasted. That whole experience you can't get back. You can't. So you have to just suck it up, continue on, move on to the next job. Here's how the scenario looks to me. Right now, every job out there that has an online posting has maybe 100 to 200 people that don't really qualify, but that person has, knows what to do on his resume, where they've moved into that pipeline. Now, if you're that qualified candidate, you move into that pipeline with 200 plus people, and then you got to pray, you know do whatever magic you got to do, roll the dice, to do whatever, to make sure, or hoping that you pass through the ATS, pass through those 200 plus people, and make it to the hiring manager. Now, depending on the company and size, the hiring manager may just throw up their hands and say, "Hey, these are too many people for us to kind of vet through and look at, and try to set up an interview." So, depending on the company or the hiring manager, they might just put a block on everything and go on vacation. So you're stuck there, trying to find out if you're going to get an interview, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's the total job market in late 2025, now early into 2026. So last year I basically just said, look man, I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm fully qualified. I should be having recruiters knock down my door, offering me jobs. But again, that happens here or there, that happens. But again, you just have to go through that process of, am I a good fit? Let me know more details about the job. I don't think salary, this and that, so forth and so forth. So I basically said to myself, instead of doing all that, why don't I just create a living resume, backed with AI, a living portfolio that's constantly available 24/7, 365. That if if I come across a position, or I come across somebody who's interested in giving me a position, all I have to just say is, hey, go to my site, ask the basic questions. If you hit the data points, then you'll get a Calendly link to talk to me. I feel like we have to start looking at this differently. Um, in 2026, every company is quote unquote laying people off due to AI, which is not necessarily true, but I'll go into more details maybe in a later video. So, but that being said, back to the living profile, the living portfolio, living resume, AI portfolio that I created. So I basically just thought to myself, instead of doing all that, just create something that's living 24/7 on the net, that's available, and anybody could get to, ask questions, find out more, and if they hit all my data points, they'll get a Calendly link to set up an appointment and so forth. Um, I believe this is a better method. Again, this is the first stage of my overall grand idea. Um, I'm more into, instead of it looking, pretty flashy, make sure it works. I'm all about functionality. Um, that's just the tech side in me. I'm not so much on the visual. I'm just making sure it works, and just make sure all the mechanism behind the scenes work, and it does what it's supposed to do. So, with that being said, now I'm going to show you what this site looks like. Now, if you're on my page, it's going to be in the channel description, marvinsmith.me. And okay, so now let's jump into my living AI portfolio slash AI resume. So as you can see on the screen, this is my main website, marvinsmith.me. This is an AI front end that I created. I'm still working on this, making some slight changes here and there, but um, in order to get to my AI portfolio, all you pretty much do is come to the site, which will be again in the description and in the description of this video. You come to the site, you click on Ask AI About Me. Hang on, let me listen. It brings you to my AI portfolio, which is pretty much the way how I coded it. I wanted to just code it as a, standard, nothing too flashy, nothing too pretty, but just standard resume outline. Basically tells you the position I'm looking for, what I'm open to, etc., etc. I'm gonna get into Ask AI About Me and Ask Marvin. Again, I'm just still in the slight polishing phase. Everything is done. This is a fully live site, so just bear with me. So when you come to this site, you basically have, if you're interested in something like this, is basically going to have your experiences. And what I did on the back end is that I had AI pretty much just for each position you held, it's going to give you show key points. Now, I believe this is important in any interviewing process, is just to understand your approach to the current job situation, the situation itself, your approach, your technical work, and lessons learned. What I want to pass on with this site is that if any recruiter or anybody who's interested in hiring you, they could come to this site, they could see all the necessary information and get an understanding, maybe 70-80% understanding of who you are without direct um, interactions with you. So each position has 4 key points. The key points is the situation itself, your approach, your technical work, and lessons learned. So let's start off with HSS. So, situation: healthcare systems require near perfect uptime with strict HIPAA and SOC 2 compliance. The NOC lacked standardized incident management processes, leading to inconsistent response time. So that was the situation before I got hired. My approach implemented ITIL based problem management framework, standard escalation workflows, and incidents, post incidents, RCA. So those are the basic things that I did when I was there, and so forth and so forth. So this is just my resume, but every person's resume is going to be a little bit different. But it's going to have, each position is going to have the key points. Anybody who's curious about what you did, they could just look at the key points and kind of just judge for themselves and say, hey, okay, this is a good candidate. And it basically goes on and on. Now, skill matrix. I implemented this because I feel this is a conversation everybody has to have with themselves. Um, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to be proficient in everything. You may know something on the surface layer, but your job or your current employer doesn't really have, the bandwidth, or, you know, the whatever it is, it's not implemented in their environment. So you don't have that hands-on experience to kind of say, I could go past the first level on something like this. So this is why the skill matrix exists. As you can see, my skill matrix, I have IT operations management. That's where I'm strong. Infrastructure strategy, incident management, operation procedure design, process design, vendor and SLA management, technology consulting. Now, moderate, not to say I don't have the experience in this, but again, when we're looking at architect level or head engineer level, um, that's not me. I just have the basic um, going past surface level, hands on, but again, I'm not an engineer. So, system architecture, cloud platforms, automation and AI tools. That's what I'm currently getting into at the moment. So understanding a lot of automation and AI tools. Um, IAM, access management, Azure AD, Entra ID, and Okta, change management, MDM, and endpoint management. So all of this stuff is coming from your resume. The AI code is looking at it and it's building your overall skill assessment as it goes along. Now, you may say, okay, first version, we have a phone call. I show you what the site is going to look like. And then you say, hey, I feel like that should be a strong skill set because I did this and this and this. I will come back to you and say, hey, maybe you just need to rephrase that on your resume, so that way the AI code looks at it and say, okay, let me put this in the strong category. So again, there's no manipulation behind the scenes. It's just the AI code looking at your resume and determining what you're strong at, what you're moderate, and what your gaps are. Now, if we're looking at gaps, we're looking at software development, distributed system architecture, specialized cloud services, front end development. Again, uh, I'm not a front end developer by any means. Um, Creative design workflow. So again, you're getting everything you need to know about me in just one living 24/7 AI portfolio. Currently, I just started my doctorate in business administration, so that's currently there. I'll go back and update that. But again, you have your living resume, and then I might just work on my partnerships and things like that since I'm consulting now. Now, let's go into fit check. So, during the beginning of 2026, I was heavily at one point just trying to look for positions and that suited my skill set. So a lot of recruiters sent me a lot of potential positions. And another thing that pretty much took up my time is just going back and forth with those recruiters and seeing if that position was a good fit for me. A lot of those positions weren't because I feel like I'm at a higher level. So I'm going to enter in one of the positions that was being offered to me. So let's look at this. I think it was a IT manager of training. So if somebody has a position to offer you, you could just tell them, hey, go to my AI portfolio and type it into fit check. So somebody types in IT manager of training. So we could go analyze fit, and it's looking at your resume, it's looking at your skill set, it's looking at the questions and answers on the back end, and it's giving a honest, real time answer. So it spits out probably not your probably not your person. Limited experience in training management. I'm probably not your person for an IT manager of training role, as my experience in preliminary IT operations management and service management rather than training management. And it'll basically give you key points on where you don't fit in for this position, but it will also give the person an idea, the recruiter, whoever it is, what skills are transferable. So this will let them know, okay, he has transferable skills. Maybe I want to take this a little bit further, but again, that would be up to you and the recruiter. Um, so I'm not really going to get into a lot of the technical capabilities of this. I'm just giving you something where I believe if you want to excel in today's job market, which I'm looking to do, you have to start thinking about you have to start thinking of being different in some way. Get out of that pipeline because you could easily have this. There are a lot of platforms out there where you could easily go find a hiring manager to any company. Now, if that company has a position, you could just email the hiring manager and say, hey, I think I'm a good fit for this role. Here's my AI portfolio. And then you, if it's up to you email the recruiter, they go back to it, and all they have to do is just interact with it, ask the right questions, and so forth. Instead of forcing yourself into a pipeline that's already clogged, I don't foresee that pipeline changing anytime soon. I think what we're seeing now um, is gonna be a forecast of things to come. So I'm looking at it from a different aspect. I'm looking at it as I need to think different. I need to be different in my approach, and I need to stand out some more. And now that I'm consulting, I'm just looking at a whole different ball game of the things I could do with my skill set. So it's not so much like, hey, I see this position, let me go adjust my resume, make sure it has the right keywords, and then let me go submit myself. Hopefully, hopefully being that right candidate. So, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stop it here. Okay, let's finish one last thing. So, ask Marvin. Now, these questions are already kind of pre-coded in the back end. Um, I feel like if anybody wants to know something about you or any employer wants to hire you, these are the questions that they're going to be asking anyway. So might as well just get that out the way. So when somebody says, "Hey, tell me about yourself," it's like, okay, click on the question, and the AI is going to understand your personality from the questions you answer, and it's going to spit out some information. So I'm an IT operations service manager leader with over 20 years of experience, and my career has been building around one core focus, making sure technology environments are um, resilient and predictable, and so forth and so forth. So, like I said, these are just basic questions. I think any recruiter will ask you anyway. So let's go down. So let's see. Um, Let me see. Let's make up a question that I feel like a recruiter will ask me. Tell me about your biggest wins. So enter. So again, answering, it's looking at your resume, it's understanding the questions, looking at your resume, and answering in real time. My biggest wins generally fall into three categories: maintaining extreme uptime in high stakes environment, building operational structure where there was none, leading big scale migrations without breaking the business. And it basically goes into what those big wins are. So, again, if these wins are on your resume, the AI is going to basically generate the right answer for the question. And I believe that is it. With that being said, if you're interested in something like this, I will have my booking link in the channel description and the description of this video. Again, I only charge 120 for a consultation fee. I feel if something like this is serious to you, $120 is just a drop in the bucket. Again, this is not a resume, this is an AI portfolio. You'll get your own domain, you'll get the front end, back end, and you'll get me supporting if there's any issues with this. So again, if you're serious about something like this, 120 is just a drop in the bucket, and then the 120 goes towards a discount to the overall discount on the cost of the project itself. So with that being said, again, my name is Marvin Smith, your tech strategy advisor. Um, like, share, and subscribe. Again, just do the YouTube thing. If you're interested in this, my information will be in my channel description and the description of this video. So, with that being said, I'll see you soon.